Today's video will focus on students with the reading profile of having word recognition difficulties and the importance of phonemic awareness within intervention for these students. Here's a basic image of the difference between phonemic awareness and phonics. Phonemic awareness is the understanding that the word boat has a beginning sound b, while phonics is the understanding that the letter B has a beginning sound b. Of course, for students to continue improving in their reading instruction and progression as readers, they need to have foundational skills in both of these concepts. Here's one umbrella term for a reading profile of student with specific word recognition difficulties. These students have difficulty recognizing words, weaknesses in phonological awareness, and difficulties in word reading. Their accuracy and their automaticity can often lead to difficulties in their reading comprehension. This model should be considered as a flexible continuum. Spear-Swirling says distinctions between different profiles and patterns of reading difficulties also should not be too rigidly drawn. Here is an example of a student with this particular reading profile. On the left is a passage for grade 1, and on the right are the various effects or observations and errors that were taken at the end of this assessment. As the student read, the teacher observed that it was very laborious reading. The student had multiple errors in decoding the various words in the passage. For example, in the last sentence, that is how Spotty learned to swim, they incorrectly decoded the word learned. Therefore, when the comprehension question was asked, what did Spotty learn in the story, they were not able to answer that question. However, when the passage was read aloud to the student was able to answer all comprehension questions, and their comprehension remained intact and correct. One specific profile within this realm is a non-alphabetic word reader. This student has reading difficulties in the beginning foundational phase of reading of visual cue word recognition. They have very limited phonological awareness, and they have below average word recognition and phonological skills. They have weaknesses in decoding and below average text reading fluency and reading comprehension. This particular student has high needs in systematic phonemic awareness and phonics instruction. A second reading profile within this umbrella is an inaccurate word reader. This student has reading difficulties in the phase of phonetic cue word recognition. They have some phonological awareness, but they're not able to decode or identify all phonetic cues within a word. They have below average word recognition and phonological skills and difficulties in decoding. Similar to the last profile, they're below average in their fluency and comprehension. However, if a student is posed to read a lower level text, they may be able to increase their comprehension. Because of this, a lot of students develop strategies to compensate for their reading difficulties. For example, they might look at a picture or they might use context clues to aid in their comprehension. However, those compensation strategies will not always be successful in a long-term or a higher level text. This student needs instruction in systematic phonics instruction and phonemic awareness and fluency instructional interventions. The last profile within this continuum is a non-automatic word reader. This student has difficulties in the phase of controlled word recognition. They are below average in word recognition and phonological skills. They have difficulties in their automaticity and their decoding of multisyllabic words, and they're also below average in their fluency and comprehension. Similar to the last reader, they are able to increase their comprehension with lower level texts, and you do use compensation strategies, but again, those are not always successful in long-term or higher level texts. For this particular student, their instruction should include structural analysis of words for decoding purposes, word recognition skills, and fluency building skills. Returning to the student who fell in this SWRD reading profile, their intervention needs includes explicit, systematic, phonemic awareness or phonics instruction using a multisensory structured language approach with a research-based program. What does all of that mean? Explicit means it is direct instruction. It is where the teacher is directly modeling the particular skill and guiding students through that skill. It is not through an inquiry-based approach or anything like that. It is direct instruction with that skill and concept. Systematic means it's planned, organized instruction, and the prerequisite skills are taught before advanced skills. So for example, their short vowels are taught with fidelity and success prior to moving on to longer vowel patterns. Phonemic awareness instruction is being able to blend and segment sounds, being able to understand that the word bat consists of b, at, so being able to segment that and then blend those sounds together to unlock that word. Phonics instruction is the manipulation of graphemes with phonemes, so the integration of written print with sounds. Students are also working on segmenting words by syllables and structural analysis of multisyllabic words. A common and very successful component of this type of instruction is multisensory structured language. Students are able to use concrete manipulatives, cues, and activities to support their focus on decoding, segmenting, blending, and/or spelling. This could include using letter tiles, colored chips, tapping with their fingers, and things like that. And finally, it is essential that this type of instruction is research-based. That means the instruction is developed based on scientific research and the understanding of reading. And finally, a quote from Mark Seidenberg: "We don't study orthographic patterns in order to be able to read. We gain orthographic experience by reading." It's essential that the phonemic awareness and the phonics instruction is explicitly taught with students so that they can gain the understanding of both as they read.